I freeze in the doorway of my parents' dining room, my hand still clutching the brass doorknob. The scene before me feels almost unreal, like I've stepped into someone else's world. My sister Claire stands proudly next to a table covered with glossy printouts of recipes, each page stamped with her name in an elegant script. 3 local food bloggers circle her, cameras clicking, notepads at the ready. My mother, Susan, shines beside Claire in a pearl necklace and a crisp blouse, radiating the pride of a stage mother. My father, Richard, stands nearby, his chest puffed out with satisfaction. But then I see the recipes. Every single one of them. My heart hammers in my chest. Blackberry and sage crumble. Pacific Northwest seafood stew with saffron cream. Hazelnut chicken with wild mushroom sauce. Each dish is a memory of long nights, thousands of dollars spent on ingredients, burnt fingers, and calloused hands. Every test, every failed attempt, every triumph, all mine. And now someone else is claiming them as her own. My mother spots me in the doorway and waves me in with the practiced warmth she reserves for public moments. "Come see what we've prepared for Claire's big cookbook launch," she says. My feet move forward automatically, though every step feels heavier than the last. The room seems too hot, too close. My father gestures to the spread with a triumphant smile. "Finally, our family's culinary legacy is out in the world," he says. The bloggers look at me with polite curiosity. One older woman, her gray-streaked hair tucked loosely into a bun, studies me with interest. Claire clears her throat, launching into a prepared speech. "Cooking has always been my passion," she begins, her voice polished. "These recipes are my journey from home cook to developing my own unique culinary style. Each dish tells a story." I step forward, voice low but steady. "Those are my recipes." Silence falls. 5 pairs of eyes turn to me. Memories flash before me like a high-speed slideshow. Nights in my tiny apartment kitchen, testing the blackberry crumble 14 times to perfect this sage balance. The cloud drive where Mom insisted I store every recipe file for safekeeping. Claire suddenly expressing interest last year in organizing my digital recipe folder. I remember my blue ribbon at the local cooking competition last spring for the hazelnut chicken, only to hear Mom whisper to another contestant's mother, "Claire helped her." Claire's the real talent. Family gatherings became awkward. Questions about my cookbook were brushed aside. My mother's smile never faltered, but her eyes hardened whenever I tried to share my progress. She steps toward me, hand pressing firmly to my shoulder. "Don't make a scene," she whispers, voice sweet but warning-laced. "This is Claire's moment. Can't you just be happy for your sister?" I pull away from my father, who grabs my elbow. "We invested a lot in this publishing deal," he mutters through clenched teeth. "Don't ruin it for the family." I stop. Take a deep breath. My voice finds strength I didn't know I had. "I need to show you all something." I walk briskly to my car, ignoring the tightening in my chest. When I return with my laptop, the room has shifted. My mother fusses with coffee for the bloggers, movements precise. My father watches the window, arms crossed. Claire perches on the edge of a chair, fiddling nervously with her pearls. I set my laptop on the table. Claire in her tailored slacks and crisp blouse looks polished. I, in jeans and a simple shirt, bear the marks of someone who actually cooks. Small scars, calluses, and flour-dusted hands. I open my email and locate exactly what I need. My hands don't shake, even though my heart races. 7 years of labor, dedication, and sacrifice all documented. I turn the screen around so everyone can see. "My cookbook releases in 10 days, I announce. "These are my copyrighted recipes, and I have the paperwork to prove it." The bloggers lean in, suddenly interested. The older woman, Diane, pulls out her phone to take pictures of the screen. Mom's face drains of color. Dad steps forward, hesitating. Claire's confidence falters. "I can't do this anymore, Mom," Claire cries, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "We shouldn't have taken her recipes." Susan's hand clamps over Claire's mouth. "Quiet," she hisses. But Claire speaks on, her voice shaking but clear. "I tried to cook like Emma, I really did. But I can't. I never could." I pause, hearing truths I didn't expect. Claire's tears dry, and her posture stiffens. I only went along because Mom and Dad said I had to, she whispers. They said your talent was wasted if I didn't step in. That's enough, Mom snaps, then turns to me, voice softening. Everything we do is for this family. You've always been so independent. While Claire needed support, I feel the familiar pang of being the overlooked child, the invisible one. Behind the scenes? I repeat, my cheeks flushing. You mean doing all the actual work? Dad clears his throat. Your college fund paid for this publishing deal? He says, as though that justifies everything. My stomach drops. My college fund? Grandma's money, meant for my education, now used to fund the theft of my work. Before I can respond, Diane speaks. I followed Emma's blog for years, she says, voice calm but firm. I recognize these dishes. That seafood stew won the Cascadia cooking competition last spring. My phone vibrates texts from students, friends, followers. Congratulatory messages flooding in. Support finally pouring in like a lifeline. I open my cloud drive, revoking their access with deliberate clicks. From now on, I say, voice steady. No one touches my recipes without a contract. I pull up the recipe development timeline. Photos. Me, tiny kitchen, flour on my hair, tired eyes, surrounded by 15 versions of blackberry crumble. Hundreds of images, meticulously dated and annotated. Emails with publishers. Contracts. Financial spreadsheets. Ingredients I scrimped and saved for saffron. Vanilla beans from Madagascar. Mussels bought with tips from double shifts as a waitress. Claire's contribution? Instagram photos, Claire's face crumples. I never wanted to hurt you, she sobs. I keep showing evidence. Copyright filings, video logs, receipts. Mom and Dad flail, trying to intervene. But Diane's calm presence keeps the blogger's attention on me. Finally, I announce, these are my recipes. All of them. Mine. 2 days later, my phone buzzes with more congratulations. My kitchen counter is covered with handwritten notes, ingredients, the familiar aroma of saffron seafood stew. Voicemails from family friends go unanswered. Emails, messages, texts all documenting years of work. My grandmother's recipe cards arrive, decades-old yellowed pages, marked with her handwriting. Created by Eleanor Marsh, perfected by Emma Carter. Tears fill my eyes. Validation finally. I prepare 72 recipes, each meticulously labeled, each photographed, each documented. Margaret, my editor, helps me compile stories behind the dishes. Each story authentic, each recipe mine. Claire visits, hesitant, eyes red. She confesses she never wanted to be a chef, only a stylist. Now we find a way to work together honestly. Her styling skills, my cooking. 6 months later, I stand in a professional kitchen in Seattle, plating dishes for a cookbook preview. The first course, hazelnut chicken with wild mushroom sauce, smells as perfect as I remember. Notifications flood in. Pre-orders, media interest, Instagram posts. Claire watches quietly, finally seeing the results of truth and authenticity. I glance out the window, reflection showing a tall, confident woman. Betrayal, nearly my undoing, became the foundation for something stronger, something mine. Truth, I realize, is the most essential ingredient of all. The morning after the chaos of reclaiming my recipes, I wake to sunlight spilling across my kitchen counter. My grandmother's old applewood cutting board gleams under the light, and the stack of yellowed recipe cards sits neatly beside my cookbook, a silent reminder of the years I've poured into my craft. Claire isn't here yet, but I know she'll show up eventually. I can hear the soft hum of the city outside Seattle is waking, but inside my kitchen, I feel like I've carved out a world that finally belongs to me. I begin my day as always, testing a new dessert recipe, taking notes on sugar content, flour ratios, timing. The rhythmic motion of whisking and folding, chopping and stirring, grounds me. I can almost feel the weight of every mistake I made over the years lifting off my shoulders. This is my process, my life, and no one can take it from me. By mid-morning, Claire arrives carrying a small box. She hesitates in the doorway, hands tight around the package. Her hair is pulled back in a messy ponytail, her usual polished appearance replaced by a worn sweater and jeans. She looks human, vulnerable. I brought this for you, she says, voice quiet. I thought it belonged to you. I take the box, noticing a familiar weight. Inside is my grandmother's antique cookie cutter, shaped like a maple leaf, the one I used every holiday season. My fingers close around it instinctively. This was always mine, I whisper, more to myself than to her. Claire nods. I know, I wanted to give it back. I didn't know how else to show it. We stand in silence for a moment, the air between us heavy with all the words that went unsaid for years. I realize for the first time that Claire isn't my enemy. She was caught in our parents' plan, manipulated by the same expectations that nearly broke me. I finally break the silence. You know, your styling is actually amazing. You have a real eye for presentation. That could be useful if we're honest about who does what. Her eyes widen. You'd work with me? Only if it's clear whose work this is, I reply. No pretending. No taking credit for something you didn't create. Claire nods slowly, relief and guilt mingling in her expression. I can do that, she whispers. By noon, my kitchen is alive with activity. I'm documenting every step for my upcoming cookbook, taking photos, writing stories, annotating each recipe with the trials and triumphs that shaped it. Margaret, my editor, stops by with a stack of proofs. We've added 16 pages for your personal stories, she says, laying them on the counter. Your voice comes through beautifully. Authenticity, Emma, is your strongest asset. I flip through the pages, seeing handwritten notes alongside printed recipes. Every test, every mistake, every lesson learned finally immortalized. Claire hovers nearby, eyes tracing my annotations. I notice her pausing, absorbing the process, realizing how much effort went into each dish. By late afternoon, Chef Thomas arrives, carrying a crate of ingredients for tonight's preview dinner. The kitchen buzzes with anticipation. Thomas claps me on the shoulder. Seattle hasn't seen anything like this, he says, smiling. Your recipes translate beautifully to a professional kitchen. That's rare. I glance at the counter, where my grandmother's recipe cards sit neatly arranged. The irony isn't lost on me. These recipes, stolen and almost lost, are now the foundation of my success. I feel a mix of pride and relief. For the first time in years, my talent is recognized on its own terms. Suddenly, Diane, the blogger with the salt and pepper hair, bursts into the kitchen, excitement written across her face. Emma, you need to see this, she says. She holds up her phone, showing screenshots of Claire's social media posts from yesterday. Your family's Vanity Press announcement? It's all falling apart. They can't explain why the recipes are exactly like yours, and the publisher backed out because of copyright concerns. I suppress a smile. Finally, justice in action. Good, I murmur, focusing back on the tasks at hand. The evening preview arrives quickly. Food critics, local chefs, and culinary enthusiasts fill the restaurant. Chef Thomas introduces me, and I step forward, nerves fluttering in my stomach. I glance at the front row and see my parents, Susan and Richard, seated with Claire. Their expressions are rigid, carefully controlled. My pulse quickens, but I remind myself, this isn't about them. This is about my work, my passion. I start the demonstration with the saffron seafood stew, explaining the story behind each ingredient, the trials that shaped the recipe, the early mornings and late nights. The audience listens, captivated. Claire assists, arranging dishes on the display table, but her hands tremble slightly. She knows she's witnessing something she cannot claim. After the first course, Chef Thomas introduces me to speak about the cookbook. Holding my grandmother's yellowed recipe cards in my hand, I address the audience. Authenticity, I begin, voice steady, is the most important ingredient in any recipe. These dishes represent years of experimentation, failure, and refinement. They are my journey and my journey alone. I glance at my parents, their rigid smiles faltering as the truth becomes clear to the audience. Diane captures every moment, sharing live updates with thousands of followers. Claire sits quietly, absorbing the realization that credit belongs where it's due. Following the demonstration, a line forms for book signings. I sign copies, chatting with readers and students who recognize the effort behind each recipe. Each comment, each word of encouragement, feels like a victory, a reminder that my voice and work matter. Later, when the crowd thins, Claire approaches. I bought a copy, she admits, holding the cookbook close to her chest. I didn't deserve it, but I wanted to see it with my own eyes. I cap my pen, watching her carefully. There's a way to make this right, I say. But it depends on honesty. Are you willing to admit the truth about what happened? Her eyes fill with tears. I can't change the past, she whispers. But I want to do better. I nod. For the first time, I feel the possibility of rebuilding a relationship, not on lies or manipulation, but on respect and transparency. The next morning, I begin preparing for the cookbook's official launch. My Seattle test kitchen is a flurry of activity. Ingredients lined up, equipment ready, assistants taking notes. The sunlight streams through the windows, reflecting off polished countertops, and I feel a sense of calm determination. This is my domain now. Emails and texts flood in from media outlets, local chefs, and former students. Everyone wants to feature the cookbook, interview me, or try one of the recipes. The momentum is unstoppable. Claire watches quietly, no longer trying to steal the spotlight, only observing. Margaret arrives with another stack of proofs. We've included personal stories behind each recipe, she says. The design team loved the authenticity. This is going to set your book apart. I flip through the pages, seeing my journey captured in print. Flour-covered hair, early mornings, late nights, the tiny apartment kitchens where everything began. Each photograph, each note, each anecdote reinforces what I've known all along. These recipes are mine. Claire lingers at the edge of the room. I never wanted to be the chef, she admits, voice small. I wanted to be a food stylist. But Mom and Dad, they made me think it had to be more prestigious. I study her face, recognizing the same struggle I faced. Then maybe there's a way for us to work together, honestly, I suggest. Your styling skills are incredible. They can complement my cooking without taking credit for it. A small, hopeful smile appears on her face. I'd like that, she whispers. By evening, the kitchen is alive with preparation for the launch dinner. Chef Thomas oversees plating, ensuring every dish meets the standard I've spent years perfecting. My grandmother's recipe cards lie on the counter, guiding me, reminding me of where it all began. Diane's blog post goes live during the event, highlighting my journey, the stolen recipes, and my eventual triumph. Social media buzzes with excitement, and pre-orders for the cookbook skyrocket. Through it all, Claire observes quietly, no longer trying to compete, no longer hiding behind our parents' expectations. She sees the dedication, the years of work, and finally, she understands. By the end of the evening, the restaurant is emptying, and I stand in my kitchen, exhausted but exhilarated. I glance at my grandmother's cookie cutter and recipe cards. For the first time, I feel fully in control of my legacy. Claire approaches, holding her hands out. I know I hurt you, she says softly. I want to help. I don't want to be the problem anymore. I take a deep breath, letting the weight of years of betrayal lift. Then let's do it right, I reply. Together, honestly, and with respect. As night falls over Seattle, I finally feel the balance I've been searching for. Betrayal and manipulation can't define me. Only my passion, my hard work, and my dedication shape my path forward. And now, with Claire finally acknowledging the truth, it feels like the beginning of something stronger, something real, something mine. The morning of the official cookbook launch arrives with a soft drizzle over Seattle. The sky is gray, but inside my kitchen, there's a warmth and energy that's impossible to dampen. I stand at the counter reviewing my notes one last time. The final tasting plates are arranged meticulously: blackberry sage crumble, hazelnut chicken with wild mushroom sauce, the saffron seafood stew, all of them perfected over years of trial and error. Each dish represents a piece of my journey, and now, the world will finally see it. Claire enters, carrying a tray of carefully plated appetizers. Her movements are confident but cautious, a reflection of her newfound understanding of boundaries and respect. She sets the tray down without a word and steps back, giving me space. I notice her hands are slightly trembling, probably nerves from being part of this launch for the first time. But the difference today is that she's not trying to claim credit. She's here to help. Honestly, Margaret arrives shortly after, a stack of press kits under her arm. Everything is ready, she says, placing them neatly on a side table. The media is arriving soon. Local chefs, food critics, bloggers all waiting to hear your story. Her eyes sparkle with excitement. Seattle is going to feel your presence today, Emma. You're ready. I take a deep breath, grounding myself. The years of hard work, the sleepless nights, the endless experiments, they all lead to this moment. I glance at my grandmother's yellowed recipe cards, spread across the counter like a roadmap of my culinary past. Her handwritten notes remind me why I started this journey. Not for fame, not for approval, but for the love of cooking itself. By late morning, the venue for the launch is bustling. The dining area is filled with elegant tables, each adorned with freshly picked herbs and seasonal flowers. The plates I prepared are lined up, each perfectly plated and photographed for the press. Chef Thomas oversees the kitchen, directing staff with precision and care. He looks at me with a reassuring smile. "This is your moment," he says. "Own it." I nod, feeling a surge of determination. Outside, the media vans are parked along the street. Cameras and microphones are ready. Diane, the blogger who has been my ally throughout this ordeal, is already setting up her equipment, capturing behind-the-scenes content for her online followers. She catches my eye and gives me a thumbs up. Suddenly, the front door opens, and my parents walk in, Susan and Richard. Their expressions are carefully composed, but there's a tension in their shoulders that betrays their anxiety. Claire walks behind them, looking smaller than usual, aware of the truth and its impact on our family dynamic. I feel a flicker of apprehension, but I remind myself, this isn't about them. This is about my work, my voice, and my hard-earned achievements. I straighten my posture and focus on the tasks ahead. The launch begins with a brief welcome speech from Chef Thomas. He introduces me to the audience, highlighting my dedication, the meticulous care behind each recipe, and the journey from a small apartment kitchen to professional recognition. I step forward, holding my grandmother's recipe cards in my hand. The crowd falls silent, waiting. Authenticity, I begin, my voice calm but firm, is the most important ingredient in any recipe. These dishes represent years of experimentation, failure, and refinement. They are my journey, and my journey alone. I glance at my parents in the front row. Their smiles falter as the audience shifts their attention entirely to me. Diane captures every word, live streaming snippets of my speech to thousands of online followers. I feel a mix of nerves and exhilaration as I continue, sharing the stories behind each dish. The long nights testing the blackberry sage crumble, the painstaking adjustments to the saffron seafood stew, the countless variations of hazelnut chicken until it was perfect. The crowd listens intently, taking notes, snapping photos, and asking questions. My confidence grows with each word, each anecdote. This is what I've been working for: recognition, not from my family, but from people who understand and appreciate the craft. After the presentation, I move to the demonstration table. Claire assists, arranging dishes for the tasting. She's careful, precise, and quiet. I notice her glancing at the handwritten notes beside each plate, her expression a mixture of admiration and regret. It's clear she understands now the magnitude of what she almost claimed as her own. Throughout the evening, media outlets approach me with questions. Ellen Michaels from Northwest Cuisine magazine requests an interview for the upcoming issue. A local radio station asks for a live cooking segment next week. Each request feels like validation. Proof that my work and dedication are finally being recognized. Meanwhile, my parents sit in tense silence. Their attempts at control, manipulation, and expectation have all been rendered irrelevant. I realize that their approval no longer matters. My achievements are independent, my voice is clear, and my talent cannot be overshadowed by lies or family interference. Claire approaches during a quiet moment. I didn't realize how much work this was, she says softly. I thought it was just about presentation. I see now. It's everything you put into it. I nod. It's not just cooking. It's a lifetime of learning, failing, and trying again. It's about integrity and passion. You can help, but only honestly. Her eyes fill with understanding. I can do that, she whispers as the evening progresses, the tasting portion begins. Guests savor each dish, noting the depth of flavor, the balance of ingredients, and the personal stories behind them. Photos and videos circulate online, spreading rapidly across social media. The response is overwhelmingly positive. People recognize the authenticity of my work and the dedication behind every recipe at the end of the event. I step aside to breathe. My grandmother's cookie cutter and recipe cards are displayed prominently on the side table, a tribute to the source of my inspiration. Claire approaches again, holding a small gift. I wanted to give you this, she says, placing it carefully on the table. Inside is a vintage kitchen timer, something that belonged to our grandmother, now returned to its rightful owner. I take it, feeling the weight of history and reconciliation. Thank you, I say simply. Finally, the night winds down. Chef Thomas and Margaret congratulate me. Diane beams with excitement at the coverage she's already posted. I feel exhausted but exhilarated, a profound sense of accomplishment settling over me. This is my moment, my life, my work finally recognized for what it truly is. Later, when the room is nearly empty, Claire approaches one last time. I know I can't change the past, she says, voice small. But I want to help you now, honestly. I smile, feeling a mixture of relief and hope. Then let's do it together, I reply. No shortcuts, no pretending. Just honesty, passion, and respect. The next morning, Seattle streets are wet with the previous night's rain, but in my test kitchen, the sun shines through wide windows. My cookbook sits on the counter, surrounded by notes, recipe cards, and photographs. I take a deep breath, knowing that this is just the beginning. Orders are already coming in from across the country. Requests for interviews, features, and cooking demonstrations. Each inquiry feels like confirmation. My hard work, dedication, and authenticity have resonated. I agreed, she whispers, a small smile tugging at her lips. The next few weeks pass in a whirlwind of activity. My cookbook, From My Kitchen, a heritage of Northwestern flavors, reaches kitchens across the country. Pre-orders surpass expectations. Local chefs and food critics request demonstrations. Culinary blogs share reviews, highlighting the authenticity of my recipes and the dedication behind each dish. My voice, finally unfiltered, resonates with those who care about genuine culinary artistry. Claire works alongside me, organizing events, documenting recipes, and ensuring that every demonstration reflects the authenticity we both value. Lindsay contributes her visual talent honestly, styling dishes for photographs, helping with social media content, but never claiming credit for the recipes themselves. Our collaboration becomes a new chapter, one built on trust and acknowledgement. One evening, after a particularly successful cooking demonstration, I sit alone in my kitchen, reviewing notes for new recipes. The sun sets over the Seattle skyline, casting warm, golden light across the countertops. My grandmother's cookie cutter, the yellowed recipe cards, and my published cookbook sit nearby. I realize how far I've come not just as a chef, but as someone who has reclaimed her voice, her work, and her life. My phone buzzes with a text. It's from Margaret. Congratulations again. It's from Margarations again. It's from Margaret. Congratulations again. Congratulations again. The coverage is amazing. People are connecting with your journey. I smile, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. This recognition is not about fame, it's about integrity, passion, and the honest acknowledgement of hard work. The next morning, the doorbell rings. Claire opens it to find Lindsay standing, holding a small notebook. She steps inside, hesitating slightly before speaking. I've started documenting my food styling ideas, she says. I want to contribute, but only in a way that respects your recipes. I take the notebook, flipping through sketches and notes. Her ideas are thoughtful, creative, and complimentary, not a replacement for my work. This is perfect, I say. Together, we can create something beautiful, but always honestly. No shortcuts, no taking credit for what isn't yours. Over the next few months, our collaboration flourishes. Recipes are tested, photographed, and documented. Claire and Lindsay both contribute within their respective strengths, and the authenticity of the work shines through. The culinary community responds enthusiastically, praising the book and the honesty of the project. My cookbook becomes a reference for aspiring chefs, a testament to dedication, patience, and integrity. One afternoon, I sit in my test kitchen, reflecting on the past year. The betrayal that once threatened to break me has become the foundation for something stronger. I remember the nights of solitude, the financial struggles, the endless recipe tests, and the moments of self-doubt. Each memory is now a stepping stone, leading to this life that I have crafted on my terms. I glance at my grandmother's handwritten notes, each one a reminder of where it all began. Her guidance, her patience, and her love infused every recipe I developed. I realize that her legacy isn't just in the dishes themselves, it's in the care, attention, and authenticity that I bring to every plate. Lindsay enters quietly, carrying a tray of freshly baked cookies. She sets them down beside me. "I want to learn from you," she says. "Not to replace you, not to take credit, but to truly understand." I nod, a sense of closure washing over me. "Then let's start together," I reply. Honestly, and with respect for the craft, as we work side by side, testing recipes and refining techniques, I feel a sense of peace that has been missing for years. My parents' influence, once so controlling and manipulative, has diminished in importance. What matters now is authenticity, integrity, and the shared joy of creating something meaningful. The following week, I hold a cooking workshop for local aspiring chefs. Claire and Lindsay assist, each contributing within their strengths. The students watch intently as I demonstrate techniques, sharing stories behind each recipe. Questions are asked, lessons are learned, and the joy of genuine culinary discovery fills the room. Later, as the workshop concludes, I step back and observe. My cookbook, the handwritten notes, the recipes, and the lessons learned have all come together to create something enduring. Not just a book, not just a collection of dishes, but a legacy built on honesty, dedication, and the courage to claim my voice. That evening, I sit in my kitchen reflecting on how far I've come. The city lights of Seattle shimmer outside, but inside, the warmth of my kitchen feels brighter. I pull out my grandmother's bourbon apple pie recipe, my hands steady as I mix the dough. Memories flood back her guidance, her patience, the small hands-on lessons that shaped my culinary journey. As the pie bakes, filling the kitchen with its sweet, spicy aroma, I feel a deep sense of fulfillment. The betrayal, the manipulation, the family conflicts, they were all challenges that ultimately strengthened me. I have reclaimed not just my recipes, but my story, my voice, and my life. Finally, I sit down with a cup of tea, watching the pie brown in the oven. Claire and Lindsay join me, the three of us sharing a quiet moment of reflection. There's no competition, no pretense, just honesty, collaboration, and the love of cooking. For the first time, I fully understand. Success isn't about pleasing others or claiming recognition through shortcuts. It's about authenticity, dedication, and the courage to claim your work, your voice, and your story. And now, after years of struggle, doubt, and betrayal, I finally do. My cookbook sits proudly on the counter, my name embossed on the cover, my grandmother's recipe cards nearby. Each plate I prepare, each recipe I test, each story I share is a testament to the journey I fought to own. The city of Seattle glows outside, and inside my kitchen, a legacy has been restored not just in recipes, but in truth, resilience, and the life I have created for myself. I am Emma, chef, author, and guardian of my culinary heritage. The journey continues, but now it is mine, truly, completely, and authentically mine.